Hello, and welcome back to Women for Wealth. So, today I want to talk about what you should do if you're unmarried and 32 years old. The reason why this came up is our middle son recently came to visit. He's going to be working on Thanksgiving, and so he came to visit us early, and he asked a couple of questions, which, as a mom, I'm thrilled that he is seeking advice and he's starting to learn about financial freedom. So there are a couple things that I told him that I want to share with y'all. Now I kind of put this together kind of around him being 32 and he's unmarried, no kids. But, we'll kind of talk about what I would modify if you're married and you've got kids as we go through this. So the first thing you need to do, assess your current financial situation. It's not a bad idea to calculate your net worth. It's really just your assets minus your liabilities. Gives you an idea of where you stand financially and if you're upside down. Track your incomes and expenses every month. This is key to have a monthly budget. Track it. Go back and look at it. Did you meet your budget? Did you exceed your budget in some areas? Do you need to cut back? Do you need to make adjustments on your budget? Until you've got the data, it's hard to make good decisions. So take some time and get the data. Put together a monthly budget. Track your income and expenses. Debt management. If you have any high interest debt, credit card debt, personal loans, prioritize paying those off first. Because as my son said, if you're making payments, you can't get paid. And I think that's pretty accurate. If you're paying credit card bills every month, it's going to be hard for you to save enough to where you're going to be able to retire and get paid back out of that money without running out while you're still alive. The second thing is set retirement goals. So I know at 32, you're not married yet, you don't have kids yet, you don't have any clue how long you're going to work. But now's a good time to start thinking about it. When would you like to retire? Do you want to wait until you're in your 60s? Do you want to wait till you're 70? Do you want to be able to do early retirement? If you're going to do the FIRE movement, FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. If you want to do that, then you just got to set yourself a goal and you got to set a target. Then you got to work toward meeting that. Lifestyle. Estimate how much money you'll need in retirement based on your desired lifestyle. Are you going to want to travel? What's going to be healthcare expenses? Housing, hobbies. If you have an expensive hobby, if you love to play golf and you love to go to premier top golf, anyway, if you want to go to the country club on a weekly basis, you need to know that about yourself. And that's not a bad thing to do. It's just something that you need to know about yourself, identify, and then save toward that. So if you're going to have a high lifestyle where you're going to be spending a ton of money in retirement, you need to know that so you can save more money now. If you're kind of easygoing and you're like, I don't need to spend a lot of money, little things make me happy, and you're not going to be, traveling the globe, you're not going to be doing expensive excursions or outings or anything. You should know that about yourself. Figure that out about yourself and then plan accordingly. Retirement income needs. So you need to know roughly what you're going to need every month once you retire to cover the expenses and to cover anything you want to do. A rough rule of thumb is 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. Our son is 32 and unmarried. His income, I hope, is going to continue to increase over time. So 70 to 80%, a percentage of a larger number is a larger number. So hopefully, as he continues to get advancements and accrue additional cash, he'll be able to invest more and he'll be able to meet all of his retirement needs. The next section 3, is create a budget and save aggressively. So automate savings. Set up automatic transfers to your retirement accounts to ensure you're saving consistently. The earlier you start saving, the more you can take advantage of compound interest. How much should you save? Well, a good rule of thumb on this one is 15 to 20% of your gross income. more if possible. If you start saving aggressively in your 30s, you'll have more time to invest. You'll have more time for your investments to grow and to invest over time. Don't forget to have an emergency fund. Now, your emergency fund should cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses in case of unexpected events. This is for, again, a 30-year-old who's healthy, he's not married, he doesn't have kids yet. Once he's married and have kids, I think your emergency fund should be 6 to 9 months of living expenses because you never know when Murphy's going to camp out in your spare bedroom. The emergency fund should be kept liquid, should be low risk. Think of a savings account, a high yield savings account, a money market fund, something like that. You're not going to want to invest this in something that's non liquid or could have fines and penalties if you withdraw it early. So choose the right retirement accounts. So, how you're going to invest is going to depend on what you're able to do, number one, and number two, what you need in retirement. There are employer sponsored plans for 401k, 403b, etc. So if your employer offers a 401k with a match, contribute enough to get the full match. I mean, honestly, the employer matching is like free money or extra salary for you. And then consider, individual retirement accounts or IRA. Open a traditional or Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is particularly beneficial for younger individuals who expect to be in a higher tax bracket later. It allows tax-free withdrawals in retirement. So I actually recommended to him an IRA or an individual retirement account because he is not where he has an employee-sponsored plan to where he can get matching for 401k or 403b. So I recommended the IRA for him. Now for 2024, the contributions are maxed at $23,000 for 401k, $30,500 if you're 50 or older, which doesn't apply to him. Roth traditional IRAs, he can put as much as $6,500 into that annually. And again, this is 2024 numbers. That number should be going up for 2025. If you're older than 50, you can contribute up to $7,500 in a traditional IRA or a Roth. So look at your different accounts and what's right for you. Max out your contributions if you can afford to. Again, the younger you are, the longer you got to invest, the more compound interest is going to be in your favor. So start early. The earlier, the better. The next thing, invest for growth. You want your money to grow. So at 32, you've got time on your side. You've got a lot of time before you're going to retire. So it's important to focus on growth-oriented investments. So think about what assets you're going to purchase and what assets you're going to invest in. Stocks, equity, mutual funds, or index funds. These are higher returns over long term, and they can carry more risk in the short term. So just be aware, if you're buying stocks, equity, mutual funds, or index funds, these are things you're going to want to purchase and you're going to want to park. You're not going to want to be buying and selling and buying and selling. This is not a day trading vehicle. Diversify your investments. Build a diverse portfolio across different asset classes. So think about stocks, bonds, maybe real estate is right for you. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you need to balance your risk and your rewards. Think about low cost index funds or exchange traded funds, or also called EFTs, that track the broad market and things like the S&P 500. And the most important thing I think for investment is regular rebalancing. Review your portfolio. Do this periodically, at least once a year. Maintain your desired allocation as your investment grows. So every once in a while, I would say annually, look at your investments. Look at look at your projected lifestyle, look at your projected monthly needs, look at your monthly budget. Can you invest more? If you can, where are you going to invest it? How are you going to invest it? Think about diversification so that you're not just only putting your money into one vehicle. And also think about your risk tolerance. for me, as I've gotten older, my risk has actually increased. So I have a couple of cryptos. Now, I don't totally understand cryptos, and I'm not an advocate of investing in something you don't completely understand. So I only got a couple $100 of Bitcoin. It isn't much, but a couple $100 today, I'm willing to risk. Whereas 20 years ago, I would never risk even a penny on something as volatile as crypto. So, think about it. Think about, is my risk tolerance changing? Number six, account for healthcare costs. So I have mentioned this recently that my husband and I both went to the doctor and got like a baseline. I came back and had very high blood pressure. So I'm now taking daily medication for that. Thomas has high blood pressure as well as he's diabetic. So he's on medications for both of those. We had already made some serious lifestyle changes starting in April. So we started eating clean, eating at home, not eating out, no fast food, no processed, cutting out, a lot of the bad stuff. Anything that's quick and convenient typically is bad for you. So, saying, you know what, we're going to give up the convenience for clean. We're going to eat cleaner. And that's what we've done since April. And, including more exercise, trying to get more steps every day. The last time we went camping, we walked 9 miles in 3 days. 9 miles in 3 days isn't a lot for a lot of people, but for someone like us that hardly ever exercised, that was a lot of walking in 3 days. Um, so, be mindful of your health, but let's face it, health benefits, the cost is going up. I think the treatment's going down. The cost of poor treatment, in my opinion, is skyrocketing. So you need to plan for health as you get older. If you have the ability to have a health savings account, an HSA, if you have a high deductible health plan, consider contributing to an HSA. It's a triple tax advantaged account, meaning contributions are tax deductible, it grows tax free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax free as well. I highly, highly, highly recommend to a 30-year-old that's not married, no kids, who is healthy, to do an HSA plan. Invest in that now. Now, I did not recommend this to a healthy 30-year-old, but if you're a 50-year-old, my wonderful husband turns 55 on, well, a couple of days from now. So, for him, I recommend long-term care insurance. Hope and pray we never need it, but it's better to have it in place and not need it than to have needed it and not had it. So look into long-term care insurance to provide potential healthcare costs in retirement, especially if you don't have a partner who could help shoulder these costs. So like when you're married, you're a partnership. You share everything. You share the wins, you share the burdens, you share everything. So if something were to happen to my wonderful husband, I of course would step up and I would take care of him financially and I would cover his medical cost. But if you don't have a partner and you don't have anybody to share this cost and this burden with, it is even more important as you get older to get long term care insurance. So please consider that if you're older. Number seven, think about taxes. Think about tax efficient investing. So, how can you maximize your tax advantages by utilizing retirement accounts? We talked about an IRA, we talked about a 401k, and other investment vehicles that minimize taxes, such as tax deferred growth and tax free income from Roth IRAs. That's something important to think about as you're investing. What can you do to reduce your tax burden? Capital gains. If you invest in taxable brokerage account, aim to hold investments for a minimum of 1 year to qualify for lower long-term capital gains rates. Now, this is another reason that I'm not a fan of day trading or short-term investing, because if you get a gain on a taxable account, let's say you buy stocks and that stock goes up and then you cash that stock out in less than a year, you're going to pay a high penalty, a high percentage of interest on that capital gains. So make sure if you're investing, you're just aware of all this stuff and just, invest in things that you're going to keep at least a year or longer. Number 8, plan for Social Security and its uncertainty. So while Social Security is still around and it can still be important for retirement, it's important not to rely solely on it. More than likely, Social Security benefits are only going to cover a small portion of your retirement expenses, if it's even going to be available in the future. So use your savings in your investments and plan for your own retirement. Do not trust that the federal government's going to be there to take care of you or your family. Plan to take care of yourself. Be self-sufficient for yourself and your family. Housing needs. So as you get older, you're going to need a place to live. I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard about people moving on to cruise ships and cruising for 6 months at a time and then just changing ships every 6 months because it's cheaper to go on a cruise. But I've heard about people using cruising as a vehicle for retirement to have a house or an apartment or a hotel room. I did hear also that there were retirees that had gone to Hilton or Courtyard, I think were the two that I heard about. There might be other hotel chains, but those are the two I heard about. And they negotiated a long-term room rate. So they would decline the regular house cleaning and, sign up for 6 months or a year at a time in order to get a lower room rate. Now, if you want to live in an apartment or you want to live in a hotel, then okay, maybe that works. But I don't know. I personally do not want to live in a hotel when I retire. I like my own space. I'm kind of a hermit. I don't want to be around a whole lot of people every day all the time. But you need to think about your own housing needs, what you prefer, what you like. Are you going to rent or are you going to own? Some people, it makes sense to buy a home. Some people, it makes sense to continue renting. If you buy, ensure you can afford the cost associated with home ownership and consider the long-term impact on retirement savings. So a house can be a good thing. I purchased this house, for example. I do have and I'm sure the editor will link somewhere. I do have a video where I talk about the benefits of renting. And there are benefits of renting, and it depends on your situation and your lifestyle. For my son, who's 32, he's not married, he's not in a committed relationship. He does gigs on cruise lines, so he's on like the cruise ship for 6 months at a time. It doesn't make sense for him to own a house and have to do the upkeep and the maintenance of a house. For him, it makes more sense to rent. And I would even say, because we actually talked about it, there's no reason for him to rent an apartment or rent a house. It's just him and his little dog. If he can rent a room, then I think that's the best way for him to go right now based on his current situation. And again, I want to be very clear. Anything that I'm recommending to you has to be based on your personal situation in your life, where you're at in this moment and where you want to go. Another thing you might want to do is if you buy a house and then you're ready to retire, downsize. Downsize your home. It's going to free up additional capital and lower living expenses. So a smaller house is cheaper to heat, cool, and maintain. As well, when you sell the house that you bought, hopefully you did a 15-year mortgage. Maybe you did a 30, doesn't matter. But, if your house is paid off and it's larger, you can sell it, take the equity, put the equity into investments, and then use the principal to buy a cheaper, smaller house. That way you still have your house, you still have a roof over your head, but you're able to utilize that equity to help you through your retirement plans. Number 10, and I apologize in advance if this is a long video, but I thank you for still being with me. Number 10, prepare for the unexpected. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Murphy sometimes camps out in the spare bedroom. So be prepared. So one of the things, even though he's unmarried at this point, consider life insurance, especially if you have any dependents. If you have children, or even if you have aging parents, you don't want a death to be a burden on them. So you want to have life insurance in place. How much life insurance do you need? You need enough life insurance to cover any expenses associated with your death. So if you want a big, memorial party and you want to, really blow out at the end, then you want to probably have a larger life insurance policy. If you want to just get cremated and have a very small service with just close family and friends, like my mom when she passed away 3 years ago, it only cost us $800 for what she wanted. So she didn't need a large life insurance policy. So, think about some of that stuff. Or if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to leave a legacy for your kids and you say, you know what, I really want to make sure if something were to happen to me, they would be financially secure. In that case, you want a larger life insurance policy. Now, what magnitude? It depends. Depends on what you want to leave them. Do you want to leave it in a trust? At this point, you probably, if you're going to get into trust and you're going to get into estate planning, you probably want to talk to an estate lawyer about that, as well as a good CPA. With estate planning, you're going to set up a will, you might do a living trust. Even if you don't have assets yet, it's important to decide how things would be distributed. So assign beneficiaries to your retirement accounts and your life insurance policies. Your beneficiary can be anybody that you determine, as long as it's within state law. And the reason I say that is because there are certain states that if you don't put your spouse as your beneficiary, they have to sign a notarized form. And I can't remember the form number off the top of my head, but they have to sign if they're not going to be your beneficiary on your retirement accounts or your life insurance policies, which I imagine can be a difficult situation. If you want to go to your spouse and say, hey, honey, I love you. I don't want to leave you any of my money when I die. I want to leave my money to a charity or to something else. Maybe I want to donate to the local church. Whatever it is, I'm sure that's going to be a little bit of a sticky situation if you've got to get your spouse to sign a document allowing you to do that. So just be aware. Again, get you a good estate planning lawyer as well as a financial advisor, CPA, and get some advice around that before you do it. Because you might need some marriage counseling after you tell your spouse you don't want to leave him or her anything. Reevaluate annually. So I can't stress this enough. Your life situation will change. You will have life events that will change where you're at, what your progress is, where you want to go, how you're going to get there. Track your progress. Regularly assess your progress forward toward your retirement goal. Look at your life circumstances. Look at your income. Look at your spending habits. As these things change, you need to adjust your savings and investment strategies accordingly. Inflation. Inflation, inflation, inflation. I know I don't know for sure, but I heard rumors that the Fed's probably going to have to drop the interest rate again because inflation is still high and it's not coming down. But because the interest rates have been high, it has cooled the economy too much. So the economy is slowing down, but inflation ain't going anywhere. So be sure to factor in inflation when calculating how much you need in retirement. Historically, inflation tends to be around 2 or 3% annually. So expect expenses to rise and increase over time about 2 to 3% per year. Put that into your financial spreadsheet, whatever you're using. I use a spreadsheet. Whatever you're using with your financial advisor, make sure you include and plan for inflation. Now, this has been a lot of information. I hope you're still with me. I hope it was good, valuable information. There are some additional tools and resources out there for you. So, retirement calculators. So use online retirement calculators to estimate how much you need based on your average retirement age, whatever you think that's going to be, and your lifestyle. If you have the desired lifestyle of the rich and famous, you're going to need to know what that number looks like, and you're going to need to plan accordingly. Also, a financial advisor. If you're unsure about investment strategies, tax planning, get with a certified financial planner. They can help you create a tailored retirement plan. I will share my financial advisor's contact information below. It's Michael Brennan. I've been working with him now for over a year. I like him because he doesn't just tell you his advice, he explains what he's thinking and why he's thinking something. And I love the fact that he is an educator at heart. So if you reach out to Michael, tell him Heather sent you, and feel free, ask him questions. Seriously, ask him a lot of questions. Understand as much as you can. Again, the key to retirement is starting early, being consistent, automate what you can, continue to save, and grow your wealth. The more wealth you have now, tomorrow, and in retirement, the more financial flexibility you're going to have. All right, so those are my notes for today. Again, I know this was a long one, so thank you for sticking with me. I do appreciate it. Until next time, I wish you health and wealth.